Welcome to TriMet 101. Today I'm going to be talking about something that is a little weird, but it exists. Bus travel here in the US has a stigma. Believe it or not, you might hear a conversation like this in the US, and maybe Canada, but I don't think it's nearly as bad in Canada. This morning I was on the bus and... Ew, you took the bus? Are you saving up to buy a car? What? I was just going up the street to go to the store or pick something up. How's it like riding with poor people? What? So I'm about to talk about something that I do feel passionate about, and I don't want to come off as angry or anything throughout this video. I'm not. It's just something that's on my mind that I know a lot of you guys probably already know about, but I'd like to talk about it anyways, and that is bus travel here has a stigma around it. I do kind of understand some of the roots of this stigma, but for the most part, I really don't care. Do you take your car to go run an errand? Cool. Do you take the bus to go and run your errand? Cool. I don't care. It makes no difference to me what you do with your life. Both have their advantages and disadvantages. Cars allow you to be in your own little private bubble while you go and run your errand. Even though you still have to be in public when you go and run your errand and when you're going back to your vehicle, so I don't really see that as a huge upside. And also, of course, allowing for a point-to-point destination, whereas a bus might not be able to do that. But buses allow you to kind of see the general public and experience the general public on your way to that errand. You'll see lots of different characters, and I think that's better for the human brain to be around that rather than in your own private little bubble. But let's not get into that too much. This is all personal opinion here. And the bus might not drop you off nearly as close to your house or the destination, so you may have to walk a few extra steps. Cry me a river. Walking is good for you. It gives you exercise. And I'm already getting too angry in this video, so let me just stop it there. Here in the US, you're seen as weird or unfortunate and oh, I pity you if you don't own a car. I get it, you've bought into American culture. You can't succeed in life unless you have a mega car and a 17-bedroom house in the suburbs. Buses are for losers, and anything outside your 27-foot tall SUV is worthless. You spend so much money buying and financing your vehicle, maintaining it, refueling it, paying for parking potentially, or doing all of these other things, and then the vehicle sits there in your driveway or garage taking up space because it sits there more than 90% of the time doing nothing. That garage that houses your car could instead be used to fill literally anything else. Cars are very space inefficient. Now, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite here, but I do in fact have my driver's license. And it's not just because I live in the middle of nowhere. I do, and you're gonna need a car if you live in the middle of nowhere because rural transit is not particularly excellent. But I still argue that everyone that is able to should still get their driver's license, because it is a skill that is excellent to have in your life. You never know when you're gonna need it. If I lived in the middle of a suburb or in a city maybe, I still argue that it's a good idea to get your driver's license. Because as I said, you'll never know when you need to put those skills into use. So having that is a very good idea. My problem isn't the cars themselves. It's car dependency. It's car infrastructure. Car-oriented cities. Car-oriented suburbs. I personally don't understand this whole gotta own a car thing. You spend so much money and take up so much space for a vehicle that you're going to end up selling in a few years, a vehicle that depreciates in value. You're going to sell it in a few years, and then just to be able to buy another one, it's an endless vicious cycle. The cost of living is already through the roof. Do you know how much money you could save by not owning a car? Let me give you a hint. It's quite a bit. Yeah, obviously you're going to need to pay rent or mortgage or whatever on the structure that you live in. And you're gonna need food, water, and the necessities, like I get that. But the transportation part doesn't have to empty your wallet. I'm gonna get more in detail on this later. So what if you choose to go no car for the rest of your life, like you don't own a car for the rest of your life, but you still want to visit that one faraway friend, or go to a place that transit doesn't? Rent a car. It will be much cheaper for you to live your life and the occasional renting a car than it is to own a car. Companies like U-Haul or Home Depot will offer their vehicles for you to drive in the event that you need one of those big trucks. So if you own an oversized truck and you maybe use it 3 or 4 times a year to put big haul, heavy loads and things in the back, the other 360 days out of the year when you're not doing that, your truck is completely pointless and more dangerous and taking up more fuel, and just generally not a good idea. So that's why you can go the route of not owning a car, or at least owning a small vehicle that's cheaper for you, more fuel efficient and all these things, and then that one time you need to haul a bunch of furniture or something, you could get yourself a truck at Home Depot and just rent it there. It's just gonna be cheaper for you. And you're still gonna need a driver's license, but you will drive less and you will pay less. Of course, I'm starting to get off topic here. So what if you say, well, taking transit takes a lot longer than driving a car. Yes, that is definitely going to be one of your major trade-offs. But it's a major trade-off that can be fixed with one simple thing, and it's something every good transit system has at least some of. Express buses. Take the busy routes in your transit system and layer an express route over top of them that serves less stops. New York City took this a step further with their subway trains and having local stop subway trains and an express stop services on the same corridors. Things like this absolutely work. It will get you to work or to your destination quicker. But importantly, it makes the journey feel faster, which subconsciously in your mind will make you want to do it again the next time it comes around for you to have to run that errand or go to work or go to school. Okay, now I gotta talk about cost. Bus fares usually aren't free. Why do I gotta pay for something that the public is all using and is very slow and makes all these stops? Well, public transit is a public service. There are lots of public services out there. Each and every one of them you pay for. But also, hang on a second, nobody ever complains about car payments. How much money do you spend a month owning your car? Probably a little bit more than $5.60 a day or $100 a month, which is the transit fares here in the Portland area. So, which would you rather do? Now, $100 a month may sound like a lot, but think about it. Owning a car is just gonna be more expensive. And so if you own a car and also take public transit, yeah, you're stacking a lot of costs on top of each other. But the moment you decide to ditch your car and instead choose to occasionally rent a car when you need to do those trips, can you imagine how much money you will save each month? You could get a bigger and better place that costs more because you don't have car payments each month bogging you down. Let's see, car payment, refueling the tank, maybe going through a car wash, getting it vacuumed, getting an oil change, mechanical wear and tear, recalls, you gotta take those in. You don't have to pay anything, but that's still time out of your day. Insurance, DMV, DEQ, other things probably that I'm not thinking of. Yeah, there's a lot of things you pay for with a car. With public transit, you pay for the fares. That's it. So, more than $100 a month to own a car. Terrible, terrible pun incoming, but let's shift gears and talk about stress. How stressed are you when driving? A lot of people like to drive, and that's fine. Going out for a Sunday drive or something, I get that. And if you're in an area designed for cars and cars only, you're probably going to be alright. But as soon as the people come in and you start getting into an urbanized area with lots of people and lots of action happening, the stress levels go up. Driving when there's tons of people around makes you feel less comfortable. Good. Because people are vulnerable when they're out walking the sidewalks and the streets. You don't really want to feel too safe driving at high speeds in an urban area. So that's good. But you know what stresses out most people? Doing nothing. It sounds weird, but gridlock traffic or just bumper-to-bumper stopped traffic causes the most anxiety. And I'll talk about this more in a bit, but public transit can take some of that relief off in a few different ways. The bus operator, the one bus operator, can take all of these passengers, and all of those passengers don't have to sit there and focus on driving. You can scroll on your phone, you can chat with your friends, you can do your makeup, I guess, although you won't find me doing that. Recording YouTube videos for your channel, you will find me doing that. Literally anything but focusing on sitting there in traffic waiting for it to move. That's me holding onto the steering wheel. You don't have to focus on the dangers around you. Dangers. Let's talk about the dangers. How dangerous is public transit? Yeah, stabbings happen. Somebody may be doing drugs near you, or somebody might be arguing or shouting with the bus driver or another passenger. Yeah, that sucks. And those kind of things make the news. They're big deals. But you know what doesn't make the news? All the car crashes and things that happen on our interstate highway systems and smaller highway systems around the country each and every day, all the time. Nobody talks about it because it happens so frequently that we have become desensitized to it. And side note, I have really started to dislike the term car accidents. Lots of these are not accidents. Lots of these are people in a hurry, in a rush, and road rage. And so they cause another vehicle to be crumpled. So I don't like car accidents. I much prefer the term crash or collision, because that's what it is. Car crashes, sometimes fatal ones, hardly ever make the news because they just happen so often. And yet when a bus or a train collides with something, yeah, that makes the news. What I'm trying to say is taking transit will always be safer than driving, even though driving in your own little bubble makes you feel safer, and the perceived sense of safety is much higher when you're in your own personal vehicle. But let me tell you, the perceived sense of safety and the actual safety are two very different things, and taking public transit will always be safer. The numbers don't lie. In short, driving increases stress levels, is more dangerous, and taking transit removes all of that. And, if nothing else, just remember that. Now I'd like to talk about something I really don't understand. Remember that quote from the beginning? How's it like riding the bus with poor people? Okay. Is that supposed to mean something? Is that supposed to suddenly change my mind about riding the bus? So what? Am I supposed to suddenly hate riding the bus because some guy got on that's down with his luck? If anything, what does that say about you as a person asking that question? It doesn't matter. They're down on their luck. You've probably been down on your luck at some point in your life. If not now, then it might happen at some point. You wouldn't want somebody judging you because you came on looking disheveled and wadded up dollar bills or something, and maybe stinking of alcohol or something. You wouldn't want somebody judging you for that. So why does it matter? I hate to sound rude and arrogant, but guess what? There are people in this world who are richer than you are. There are people in this world that are poorer than you are. None of that matters. It doesn't affect your life at all, so it shouldn't matter. And if you're poor right now and you're going through a rough patch in your life, I'm here to tell you your life will not be like that forever. Poor people aren't poor forever from the day they're born to the day they're on their deathbed. It will get better and people will improve and, your situation will improve. And being on a vehicle with mixed levels of income and just generally people with different lives all together on one vehicle can be a very interesting experience. Now, I am very much an introvert myself, and I don't go out of my way to talk to people, but I can still notice all of the surroundings, and it is interesting. You get to know all these different sides of Portland that you never knew about, and they all come together on one vehicle. I think that's pretty cool. And that quote of "how's it like riding with poor people" from earlier kind of reminds me of how we used to judge people several decades ago based on the color of their skin. I don't want to make this video all about that, but to me it seems like a very, very bad idea to judge people based on how much money it appears as though they have. That seems incredibly stupid and potentially harmful. Let's not do that. Final thing I'll talk about is commuting. Commuting to and from work. It always involves the highways, and we see how well that infrastructure works. In an ideal world, in my eyes, commuting wouldn't really happen. And no, I'm not talking that everybody would work from home on their little laptops at home or something, but your cities and neighborhoods built to be walkable, and so you should be able to walk from your house, maybe not necessarily to work, but to at least some destinations. And in the most ideal sense, you would work very close to where you live, and that way your commute might literally just be a 5-minute walk down the street. So no vehicles required. But where vehicles are required are on the highways and freeways that we have at every city. And those get clogged and jammed during the rush hour, and adding more lanes will not help. We've been through this before. The thing is it actually does work. Adding more lanes does add more capacity, and so traffic will flow smoother. Until people figure that out, and then it'll clog up the roads again, this time with more traffic than ever. Adding lanes never works in the long term. Not ever. There has not been one city that has added lanes to their roads and fixed traffic. It never works because they will get clogged after people realize how much better it was getting during the rush, as I just explained. The only way, and Not Just Bikes has said this quote several times, but the only way to avoid getting stuck in traffic and the only way to reduce traffic is to provide viable alternatives to driving. If you commute by bus, or especially train, you are taking cars off of the highway, which could allow you to get to your destination quicker, which is nice. And it also means that there are less vehicles on the road, and so pollution levels are going down. It's really just a net positive. Buses are more space efficient than cars. And it's just more generally operationally more efficient because you have one operator sitting in the seat while there's 40, 60, maybe more passengers on your bus that aren't driving. So it's just still one vehicle going down the street with all these people that would otherwise mostly be in their own vehicles. Remember, most people that commute to work drive alone in their car, just them. And so that's potentially 40 to 60 cars taken off the road just for that one bus. That's pretty incredible, but trains will win any day. I know I've said this quote before, and I will continue saying it until I'm on my deathbed probably, but trains don't get stuck in traffic. Trains don't get stuck in traffic. If I have an option that I can just take the train and fly by all the congestion, why wouldn't I take that? It's just more consistent, it's more efficient, and it's more enjoyable. Oh, but there might be signal problems or a mechanical problem that's going to cause a bunch of delays. Wouldn't that suck? Well, yeah, like your highway doesn't have car crashes and other backups and things that can happen on a daily basis. Come on, The world is not perfect. Well, we finally hit the end. That was a lot, but I really wanted to get this out there because I wanted my message out there. I want what's in my head out for the world to hear. And if 100 people watch this and at least one of you gets, changes their mind about not riding the bus or the train too much because of one reason or another, then you know what? Awesome. I am honestly proud to be sort of in the Portland metro area because Portland is a great city and I think we really do have a lot of good transit. I think our bus grid is incredible and it's only going to get better through things like Forward Together, which this video is not touching on. But the buses really, so long as you live in Portland somewhere, for the most part, yeah, you're going to be pretty close to a bus line. And then you've got the higher capacity max lines, which, while not perfect, are definitely an efficient way to get around. And I just really think that transit use here is pretty high, and I like to see that. In fact, a lot of the West Coast, the Northwest and the Northeast United States has pretty decent transit use. And if you want a place where buses just work, go a little further north and go to Seattle, because the transit there is incredible and the express bus network is incredible. The light rail is getting there and there's a lot of ambitious plans and it's very good to see, but this video doesn't really have anything to do with that. So I want to thank you for watching this video. You survived all the way to the end, and maybe treat yourself to a cookie or something. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.